We've seen the impact that the dream of the modern world is having on the environment and other species. But how is it affecting the human family? One of the primary expectations people have of the modern industrial system has been that by growing the economy, life will get better for everyone, that we are continually moving toward a more socially just world. But is this true?
When I was growing up, I always thought that, of course, the world will become more equal, there'll be more people educated, people will get jobs, and, we'll all be better off, we'll all be more prosperous. However, what has happened in the last 20 years or so is the world has become more unequal. This idea that the poor will be kind of helped to come along, even though the rich get richer, this hasn't actually worked out to be true.
We all know that a great disparity currently exists between rich and poor. One way to understand this disparity is to think of the Earth as a community of 100 people. People around the world are starting to realize that climate disruption, pollution, and other environmental problems will soon have an impact on the way they live. But for millions of others, it already has. The movement to address this has a name: environmental justice.
Environmental justice is the belief that no community should have to bear the brunt of a disproportionate amount of environmental burdens and not enjoy any environmental benefits. But right now, race and class are the most excellent indicators as to where you're going to find the good stuff like parks and trees and where you're going to find the bad stuff like waste facilities or power plants. And around the world, that is something that you see.
In the United States, Native Americans continue to be marginalized and have their natural resources appropriated.
All of this energy that's being mined on our lands doesn't go to our people. The people who live on Black Mesa, the people who live right off of the coal mine area, don't have electricity. They don't even have running water. All of that electricity goes to California, Las Vegas, Phoenix. Our lands have been labeled the National Sacrifice Area. That's when we stood up and said, hey, this isn't a sacrifice area. This is where I have 2 kids. I want to raise them here.
One way to look at the dynamics of environmental injustice comes from the United States in this excerpt from a film by Annie Leonard called The Story of Stuff.
And our problem is not just that we're using too much stuff, but we're using more than our share. We have 5% of the world's population, but we're using 30% of the world's resources and creating 30% of the world's waste. So my country's response to this limitation is simply to go take somebody else's. This is the third world, which some would say is another word for our stuff that somehow got on somebody else's land. So what does that look like? The same thing, trashing the place. Globally, 200,000 people a day are moving from environments that have sustained them for generations into cities, many to live in slums. So you see, it's not just resources that are wasted along this system, but people too. Whole communities get wasted.
In many parts of the world, especially once colonized countries, where local people still have no control over their natural resources, the industrial world's demand for oil, minerals, and timber is having devastating effects on the land, air, water, and people. An example is the Niger Delta of Nigeria, where hundreds of millions of dollars of oil have been extracted and exported, yet most of the people live in poverty on less than $1 US a day.
And because of the oil activities in this place, a lot of people who go to fishing can't even catch fish. The aquatic life is destroyed.
See, the cassava, they don't rot to finish. The oil now spoil and like this. So our plantain, cassava, cocoyam, everything don't die finish.
All our food, all our fish die finish.
The community asked us to go and do the cleanup. I was 5 months pregnant. I miscarried. We are 9 women who miscarried.
Oil should be a blessing, not cost to our land. But I think it's a cost to our land now. We are dying here.
What we do not understand is that we humans are only part of this ecosystem. And when we kill part of this system, we are killing ourselves.
The principle of social justice is that there is a social contract. We are not just individuals. We are part of a society, a worldwide society. We're interdependent, and that interdependence flows at many levels. It's spiritual, it is psychological, it is economic. The notion that we can exist and prosper just individually, based purely on what we do and what we earn, is a rather new notion in history, and it doesn't work.
I think for a lot of people who are born in privilege, there's a sense of what a friend of mine calls the right not to know. I don't have to know about poverty. I don't have to know about racism. I don't have to know about environmental degradation or environmental justice or injustice, because it's not me. I've got my life and I've got my family and I can do what I want. But the world is not forgiving of that much anymore. Pollution carries, water runs out in rich places too. The forests are coming down everywhere. The fish in the sea are depleting. It's hurting us all. Yes, it's hurting the poor first, but it's very, very difficult to go through life anymore and not see it and not feel it at some level personally.
A socially just world is a world in which if you had to draw a lot and it would put you anywhere in that society, you would feel perfectly confident. You wouldn't be worried because you knew whatever lot you drew would be a good lot. It doesn't mean everything's equal. It just means that every single person in that society has a decent shot at living the fullest life that they can. But if you close your eyes and you think to yourself, would you want to be black? Would you trade places? Well, if you wouldn't trade places, then there's work to be done.